There, it's Lara back with part 2 of the Witchy Wednesday video that is taking us from July 24th all the way through to August 6th. So this video is part 2. So I'm going to go through the new moon in Leo for all the signs. But I just want, if you chose not to watch part 1, and I really hope you do because there's a lot of information in that intro and it gives you all the context for what I'm about to say to you here. But I am taking a bit of a break. I'll just let you know in case you didn't hear it the first time. In August, and when I say break, I don't necessarily mean a kick your feet up holiday, although I hope I get a few days for that. But I have to catch up on some things and, there's some family time that's scheduled in there and that sort of stuff. So please forgive me for that, but we need to take care of ourselves sometimes, right? And for me, that's just kind of easing up on this for at least a few weeks is one way to do that. I'm still doing, in fact, one of the things I'm doing is catching up on reading. So I am still doing that. But I did mention in the first video that if you order a reading from me in this next little bit, it's going to take longer to get to you because I am taking a bit of a break, and so you may not get that until late August, early September-ish kind of thing. So I'm just letting you know, but I am here and taking orders for readings still. So let's just I'm going to give you a bit of a recap. Oh, I'm just missing my note. In terms of what this new moon optimally, well, on the light side and the shadow side potentially, right, means for each of us. Again, all of the context and the pieces are in the intro in part 1. And I'll put a link to that below so you can navigate there easily if you want to. Everything that's going on around this time is filtered through the lens of Leo right now, right? The new moon in Leo, but there's lots of other energy going on in Leo at this time too. Venus, Mars, asteroid Juno, obviously the sun and the moon both there, and also Mercury approaching. When it stations, it will re-enter Leo. So we've got a lot of Leo energy going on at this time. And it's ultimately all about really authenticity or bust kind of thing, connecting to our heart's desires, right? And really liberating, this new moon is squaring Uranus, liberating ourselves and our authentic selves, right? Our Leo is about our self-expression. So expressing our true selves out into the world, allowing our true selves to shine. And that's ultimately what this new moon is wanting us to do. Now, there are a lot of other players in the mix here. Lots of the asteroids. Uranus is a significant player. Venus is a significant player at the time of this full moon. Mars to a degree as well. So I spoke about all of that in the first video. And I will remind you, if you've got planets points in the sort of first half of the fixed signs, so Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, you're definitely going to feel this new moon, particularly if those things are kind of centered around the 7 to 9 degree mark, very close, because the new moon is at 8 degrees Leo, right? But as I mentioned in the first part, cardinal signs have a ton of stuff going on too. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And the mutable signs are not without their own stuff, right? Neptune and Pisces, Jupiter and Sagittarius. But they may feel this slightly less intensely. Or maybe in a more... liberating way. I don't know why that word comes up, but anyway, this is this is what's going on. Nobody's really, as I said, nobody's really out of the loop, right, on this new moon, but we will each feel it differently depending on specifically our own personal chart, which I can't possibly know unless I've looked at your chart. So that's a segue into when I speak to each sign in this video, I am speaking first and foremost to rising sign, right? The ascendant, because that is the most accurate and obvious when we do a general forecast like this. But also please listen for your sun sign and your moon sign. I am particularly lately feeling these things resonate with both my ascendant and my sun. Now, I happen to be this situation where those two things are opposite each other in the chart. So I'm a Pisces sun, Virgo rising, right? Those are opposite sides of the same coin. And so that's a bit of a, in some ways, unique situation. But I'm finding this, the energy of the eclipses that have just passed, and the incoming energy of Leo, all this Leo stuff, I that's resonating with both my rising and my sun, and to some degree my moon as well in Scorpio. But so listen for all three of those things, but ascendant first and foremost, ascendant or rising. So just before I begin, kind of, let's say, on the shadow side, or I guess maybe worst case scenario, I'll give you in terms of, the energies of this new moon. And I touched on this in part one, but would be grandiosity or arrogance, right? Those can be Leo on the shadow side, or really self-centeredness. There is an element of self-centeredness to this new moon because Venus is going combust, and that is okay at this time. But self-centeredness in the sense that it's about like self-love, right? Self-respect, recharging our batteries so that eventually we can, come back and be rejuvenated and fully connect, kind of thing, that sort of thing. But I'm talking about, grandiosity, arrogance, thinking we know better or more than everybody, really being, the center of attention in a sort of childish way, I guess. Or this could be like impulsiveness, right? Based on overconfidence, based on just being fed up or angry, or based on repression of our heart's desires. If we are not allowing our heart's desires to get some attention right now, we may act out. And again, kind of like childish, foolish, self-centered ways. So that's worst case scenario. But this is really optimally, an optimistic, really kind of charged, heart-centered new moon. And so best case scenario, which I like to think will be the case for most of us, this is a very creative new moon, a courageous, insightful, productive, inspiring new moon, right? A new moon of kind of either reinventing ourselves or some part of our lives, or allowing our authentic selves to shine, and really connect with that. So where this is happening for each of us depends on what house the new moon is falling in, right? And so these energies are centered around a specific point in our chart. And so that's what I'm going to speak to right now, beginning with Leo, because Leo, it's your season, it's your new moon. Happy birthday. Some of you have already had your birthday, I know, but the majority of you, it's still to come. I have 2 Leo kids who have their birthdays coming up within the next week, because they're 3 years apart, but their birthdays are only a week apart. So that's going on around here. And so it's kind of a big time for them, right? I'm interested to see what transpires in their own experience with this new moon energy and all this Leo energy. But Leo, you have this opportunity for some kind of a rebirth, for really connecting to your passions, really shining your big, beautiful light out into the world. The first house deals with the self. It's about you, right? It's about you. and all aspects of you, and your vitality, your physical body and appearance, your instinctual approach to the world, to how the world perceives you. So there is this opportunity for this rebirth to happen right now with all of this Leo energy, and to really, be the leader here, Leo. We're looking to you right now to show us how it's done, right? And so shine your light in the best way possible, and be that, kind of your generous, exuberant, childlike self, and show us how it's done. So I think that pretty much says it all for you, Leo. And if you want to know more about kind of the details that may, and the sort of contributing factors to this new moon, then please, please, please listen to the introduction. And if you don't, and that's enough for you, what I've just said, then that's totally cool too. You do you, right? So I'm going to leave that there, Leo, and I'm going to move on to Virgo, where we have this new moon and all this Leo energy in the 12th house for you. And this is interesting, Virgo, because what comes after Leo in the zodiac? Virgo, right? We're in Leo season right now. We will be in Virgo season starting at the end of August and into September. And so right now, all this energy in your 12th house, which is a hidden house, house of the unconscious, house of rest, relaxation, recuperation, being in solitude, spending time alone, connecting with your, spirituality or the divine, your intuition, your dreams. On the downside, this can be the house of escapism, right? Unhealthy escapism and self-sabotage. And so hopefully all this Leo energy is not really shining a light on that. But if it is, that's okay, because it's saying, hey, this needs to be looked at here. This needs to be looked at. You need to do it a different way. Do it a different way. It's a good time for a rebirth in this area of the chart. And it's readying you for your turn to step out onto the stage, right? When it's Virgo season and all this energy shifts into Virgo. So it's a good time to kind of take a step back right now. I'm a Virgo rising, incidentally, and this is part of the reason why I am doing exactly this, which I mentioned to you, right? Taking a bit of a step back and a break from a few things and focusing on different things over the month of August. And that's partly why, because all this energy is happening in my 12th house. This can also be a time, Virgo, of divine inspiration, where you're just getting creative messages coming through you, right? Like it's flowing through you, like you're channeling creativity, in whatever way that speaks to you. And so, being divinely inspired at this time is very much on offer for you. And so that's the new moon for you, Virgo. Again, listen to the intro for the context and more detail. But we're going to move on to Libra now, where we have the new moon happening in your 11th house, Libra. And so this is a rebirth, right? And all this Leo energy focusing, lighting up your 11th house of groups, of friendships, of your vision for the future, of those folks, that are your tribe, in the sense that they are walking a similar path to you. It has to do with groups, associations, organizations, clubs, friendship groups. And again, your long range vision for the future, right? And how you can make gains to get there. So Libra, this is what's going on for you, right? All this new moon energy is being really focused in that area of the chart for you. And so, saying to you, time to be your authentic self, to let your authentic light shine through this area of life, and to really embrace that and listen to your heart's desires in relation to those 11th house matters. Okay, Libra, that's for you. We're going to move on to Scorpio. And Scorpio, we have this new moon happening in the 10th house for you, which is a very visible part of the chart, right? It's right at the top of the chart, highest point in the chart. And so there is an energy of encouraging you to shine in this 10th house area and to begin some kind of new, like some new opportunity may arise, or beginning a new way of being, or a new project, or a new relationship, or whatever it is, in regards to your public reputation and persona, your career, your highest ambitions, your the legacy you wish to leave, your relationship to authority, including your own authority, perhaps relationship to father figures in some way. It's that kind of striving for material success as well, right? So this is really where you're being called to listen to your heart's desires, to be your authentic self, to express your true, nature, to be on the stage like Leo would be in the best way possible, shining your light, not in a kind of arrogant, I know it all way, not in a grandiose, I know, look at me kind of way, because this is the 10th house ruled by Capricorn, or is where home to Capricorn, and Saturn rules Capricorn, and that is an energy of maturity, right? So doing all of this, but in a mature way. So that's for you, Scorpio. Interesting to see what can transpire for you there, because this is a really big energy and a pretty visible part of the chart, and a significant part of the chart for you, Scorpio. So I'd love to know what transpires for you. For everybody, really, I would love to know that. So leave me a comment below if you want, or reach out. All right, moving on to Sagittarius now. We have the new moon happening in your 9th house. And so, Sag, there is a refreshed energy happening, right? A rebirthing process happening in the 9th house, where all this Leo energy is asking you to shine your authentic light, to connect with your heart's desires, to put yourself out there and express yourself and your individuality in regards to higher learning. So maybe, this is you like teaching a course, or something like that. This also has to do with travel, with traveling to more sort of faraway places. It has to do with your belief system, your philosophy, your worldview, the seeking of wisdom, right, and truth, and the expression of that. 9th house is the house that Jupiter is home in, growth, expansion, all of that. And foreign cultures, what we can learn from foreign cultures as well, or people that are different from us, right? Higher learning, I mentioned that, I think, already. So, Sag, this new moon, again, is asking you to really connect with your heart's desires and shine your light in that area of the chart, okay? In that area of your life, that 9th house area. Moving on to Capricorn now, we have the new moon happening in your 8th house. And so, Capricorn, this is an opportunity for a rebirth in the 8th house, right? Something new, right? And a new happening, a new piece of the puzzle beginning to unfold, or being birthed in the 8th house, and a fresh start kind of thing, right? New moons often bring fresh starts. So 8th house is this energy of the depths and intimacy, intimate connections, and how we're vulnerable, like where we're vulnerable, the people, we're and situations that we are vulnerable with in our lives. And so these are, again, intimate relationships, where we share our deepest, darkest secrets. Psychological healing often, this is associated with the eighth house, as well as our shared resources. So when I see resources, we often think of money, and yes, that's a big part of it. But, any resources, our time, our energy kind of thing, our wisdom, even, I consider a resource, right? So, Capricorn, this Leo energy is asking you to shine your light here, to really connect with what you really want, your heart's desires in terms of these eighth house matters. To be a leader in this area, right? Leo is optimally leader energy, energy of kings and queens kind of thing, but ultimately to really express your authentic self and connect with your authentic self in this eighth house area. So that's for you, Capricorn. And I'm going to move on to speaking to Aquarius now, where we've got the new moon happening in your seventh house. So Aquarius, this is some kind of rebirthing, new newness, fresh start in terms of your one-to-one relationships, right? And being your authentic self in one-to-one relationship, shining your authentic light, connecting with your heart's desires. What do you truly want in one-to-one relationship? And how can you express your individuality in that regard, right? So, and this is relationships on a level of, potentially significant significant other, like marriage partner or significant other in some way. It's also, though, other people that you're in close relationship with. So that it can be close friends. It can be, business partnerships, like anybody that you are connected with in a one-to-one way. And so time for you, Aquarius, for a fresh start there, and for really, really being your true self and embracing all those positive qualities of Leo. So listen to the intro, Aquarius, for some other context here, because there was some talk in the intro, which is part one, right? The part one video about relationship because of Venus and various other factors. So go back and listen to that if you haven't yet, and it may give you added layers of info. All right, moving on to Pisces. Pisces, we have the new moon happening in your sixth house. And so this is all about your daily grind, your daily routines, your health and wellness routines, your self-development efforts kind of thing, your how you are in service to others. And so with the new moon in Leo happening there, Pisces, this is a reboot, a restart, a recharge in this area of life for you. It is an opportunity for something new to be birthed, perhaps a new way of tackling the day-to-day, right? Routines, some kind of fresh beginning there. And it's asking you, this new moon energy, to really be yourself in this area of the chart, to really connect with what do you really want, right? On the day-to-day, your daily routines, whether that be paid or unpaid routines, right? At a paid job or at home, doesn't matter. Or if you work from home, or, again, things surrounding your health and wellness. This can also, I like to mention, have to do with small pets even, but, if you're somebody that's really involved with that. But ultimately, you're being asked to connect with your heart's desires and really be your authentic self in this area of life. And maybe you've been doing things in a way that's really not lighting you up. And so it's time for a change there, right? Time for a new way of doing things. So that's for you, Pisces. And moving on to Aries now, we have the new moon shining on your fifth house. So Aries, the fifth house is actually the natural home of Leo. And this has to do with our creative self-expression and shining our individual light, right? And connecting to our inner child and playfulness, like how we have fun, what sparks joy for us. It has to do with children, not only our inner child, but children that are our own children or children we're associated with. And so there is a fresh start on offer for you here, Aries. And a message of, what do you really want? Connect to your true heart's desires in relation to these things, these fifth house themes. Really shine your individual light, in regards to these things, and embrace your true core nature. And let that fire you up and light you up and be rebirthed for you in some way. So that's for you, Aries. That can be like if you got creative projects going on, it's really saying what really speaks to you, what really lights you up in that regard. So that's something to keep in mind too. Okay, moving on now to Taurus, where we have the new moon happening in your fourth house. So Taurus, you've got this fresh start on offer in relation to home and family and place of living, real estate matters. Your emotional security, your tribe, like who feels like family for you, connection to women or, nurturing people, mother figures in your life, and your own sense of that. So there is a newness on offer, right? Sun and moon are coming together to birth something new in that area of the chart. And it's in Leo. So it's like, what is really your heart's desire in these fourth house matters, Taurus? What do you really want? What is your authentic self in that area of life? And how will you express that? And really connect with it. So that you can really feel truly at home in the world, right? The fourth house is the house of home, our foundations, our roots, our ancestry, all of that. How can you be your authentic self in that arena of life, Taurus? So, and what lights you up there, right? So that's for you. And I'm going to move on to Gemini, where we have the new moon happening in your third house, Gemini. So you have a fresh start on offer here in terms of your communications, your immediate environment, and what happens, and the people in that immediate environment, and what goes on in that immediate environment, the messages exchanged back and forth. This is also having to do with your own thoughts, ideas, perceptions, including your self-talk. This can have to do even with, like all things communication, writing, speaking, that sort of thing. And so who are you really in this area of life, Gemini? Who do you ultimately desire to be? What are your heart's desires in relation to these things? This also involves siblings, cousins, neighbors, the people in your close community sort of thing. Your peers. What speaks to your heart, right, in this area? And that's what this new moon is asking you to embrace, right? Is to really shine your light at its best in this area of the chart, to be your authentic, true self. In the best, most positive way, possible in this area of the chart. And I think Gemini also, the Mercury, right, piece has is significant for you because Mercury is your ruling planet, as it is for Virgo, which I didn't mention when I spoke to Virgo, but something is sparking me to mention it to you, Gemini, because we have Mercury in close contact with this new moon and Mercury stationing direct at the same time as the new moon. So this might be a time of like revelation for you on some level, Gemini, because Mercury is, when it stations direct, particularly around the day that it stations direct, it's amplified. Its energy is amplified. And so it's kind of like there may be some real kind of clarity that happens for you in around the time of the new moon. So I think I'm going to leave that there for you, Gemini, and I'm going to move on to Cancer, who in this case is last but not least. In Cancer, this new moon is a breath of fresh air for you in the second house, right? In the sense that there is an opportunity for new developments, for birthing something new, for setting some new intentions, for truly embracing your authentic self, for shining your light and connecting with your heart's desires and your core desires, expressing yourself authentically in relation to your values, what you truly value, and who you value, your sense of worth and self-worth, your material resources and possessions, so your money and your material possessions, the resources that you possess that you use to sustain yourself and to support yourself. So your again, your money, but also resources are time and energy, right? So those kinds of things. Your sense of self-worth also falls into the second house, Cancer. And so all of these things, the new moon in Leo is lighting up all of these things, this area of the chart for you, and saying, once again, what do you truly desire here? What is the most authentic expression of self in relation to these second house matters? And, what are do you have some new intentions for this area of life, moving forward? And how can you kind of fire that up, right? And make it happen. So that is the new moon in Leo for all 12 signs. Keeping in mind that, this new moon has a lot of other energy surrounding it and connected to it, which I spoke about in the part 1 video. And that, so we are going to feel the impact of this, right? Reverberating kind of out after the new moon. And many of us sometimes kind of get an inkling of it before that as well. But this energy will be with us for the next, couple of weeks. And I will speak to you about what's happening later on in August at a later date. And hopefully I'll be back on with the next Witchy Wednesday video in 2 weeks. But I'm not going to 100% promise that. At very least, I'll do a quick check-in, depending on where things are at and how things are going for me. But I will, I'll try my best, okay? I'm not going to leave you hanging for too long, but I do have some things that I need to take care of. So I'm going to leave you there. New moon blessings. Keep in touch, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.